Hey there, fellow travelers. Do you ever wonder how Tolkien envisioned certain characters in his mind's eye? Did Gandalf really look like this? I was reading The Nature of Middle-earth recently and came across a passage where Tolkien explained what Gandalf actually looked like. To give a little background, he was reacting to a depiction of Gandalf by illustrator Pauline Baynes. Baynes' depiction shows Gandalf from behind in the company of the rest of the Fellowship. As you can see, Baynes depicted Gandalf as wearing dark, almost black robes, as well as a pointed hat with a narrow brim. In response, Tolkien said that Gandalf was a figure strongly built with broad shoulders, though shorter than the average of men, and now stooped with age, leaning on a thick, rough-cut staff as he trudged along. Though the height in Baynes' depiction seems correct, the shoulders don't seem particularly broad, and the staff is rather narrow, especially compared to that held by Aragorn. As far as Gandalf's clothing, Tolkien said, Gandalf's hat was wide-brimmed with a pointed conical crown, and it was blue. He wore a long gray cloak, but this would not reach much below his knees. It was of an elven silver-gray hue, though tarnished by wear. Given this, there are obviously a few problems with Gandalf's clothing in Baynes' depiction. First off, Gandalf's hat is both narrow-brimmed and anything but blue. Furthermore, Gandalf's robes are much darker than silver-gray, and extend well below his knees. To be fair, Tolkien appreciated many things about Baynes' illustrations. In particular, he seemed to think her depiction of Boromir was spot on, as well as her depictions elsewhere of several Middle-earth scenes, especially Minas Morgul. So if Tolkien was critical of Baynes' depiction of Gandalf, are there any depictions elsewhere that were, in his opinion, better? Tolkien gives two. The first is an illustration that Tolkien himself made. Titled One Morning Early in the Quiet of the World, it's a rough sketch that depicts Gandalf coming up the path to Bag End. In it, we see the shape of Gandalf's hat, as well as his stooped posture and walking staff. Also, though Tolkien doesn't mention it, there is another drawing he made that perhaps fits the description even better. It's a full-body sketch of Gandalf from the same period that depicts him exactly as Tolkien describes, even with some indication of his grotesque features. Both of these illustrations can be found in The Art of the Hobbit, which I've linked to in the notes below this video. The other illustration that Tolkien mentions is one by German artist J. Madlener titled Der Beargeist, Englished as The Sorcerer, or literally, the Mountain Spirit. Of the importance of this image, Tolkien says, On a rock under a pine tree is seated a small but broad old man with a wide-brimmed, round hat and a long cloak talking to a white fawn that is nuzzling his upturned hands. He has a humorous but also compassionate expression. His mouth is visible and smiling because he has a white beard but no hair on his upper lip. The scene is a woodland glade, pine, fir, and birch, beside a rivulet with a glimpse of Rocky Mountain towers in the distance. An owl and 4 other smaller birds are looking on from the branches of the trees. The Beargeist has a green hat and a scarlet cloak, blue stockings, and light shoes. I altered the colors of hat and cloak to suit Gandalf, a wanderer in the wild, but I have no doubt that when at ease in a house, he wore light blue stockings and shoes. It would seem that Der Beargeist is the closest idea we have to what Gandalf looked like in Tolkien's mind. So given this, we have to ask, how successful is the most popular depiction of Gandalf? That of Peter Jackson's films. Let's consider this image from Jackson's adaptation of Fellowship of the Ring. We see Gandalf here depicted with the rest of the Fellowship. 3 things stand out to me. First, Gandalf's hat is the wrong color. Tolkien insisted that Gandalf's hat was blue, while the hat here is most definitely a light shade of gray. Second, Gandalf's cloak is quite dark and too long. In fact, given Tolkien's description, it seems like it should be the same color as his hat here, which looks more like the silver-gray hue that Tolkien described. Furthermore, in this image, it extends well past his knees, even hiding his feet. In Tolkien's description, Gandalf's cloak would not have extended much below his knees. Third, Gandalf should actually not have hair on his upper lip. Both Der Beargeist and Tolkien's own Gandalf sketch depict a figure without facial hair between his nose and his mouth. While it is an unusual look in our day and age, that seems to be something of Tolkien's intent. Elsewhere in this chapter, Tolkien says, his looks had touches of the comic or grotesque, reflecting the sense of humor of a fundamentally humble spirit. While I'm generally a fan of the Gandalf of Jackson's films, it's worth noting that these depictions deviate from Tolkien's own vision. Of course, does it really matter that much? I'll let you be the judge of that. However, I will say that Tolkien was a writer for whom such details mattered immensely. I'd argue that it was in large part due to his detail-oriented nature that he was able to achieve the masterpiece that is The Lord of the Rings. Given that, I think it's extremely important for those adapting Tolkien's works to pay close attention to what he had to say about the details of Middle-earth and its characters. The consequence of not doing so is to miss out on his ultimate vision, which is what makes the works so wonderful and unique in the first place. Make sure to subscribe to the Tolkien Road channel, as there are more videos on the nature of Middle-earth and related topics coming soon. Also, if you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, and I'd love to continue the discussion with you in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and until next time, the road goes ever on.